right, my name is Carl Byrd, DJ Mr. Byrd from the Worldwide Fleet DJs and the Codex Prime podcast. How many of y'all want to hear some voice actors today? Yeah, I love the energy. So how about we just get this show on the road, right? All right, first up, how many millennials are here? Where the millennials? First of all, I'm a millennial, so. So, how many of y'all are familiar with the show, Courage the Cowardly Dog? Stupid dog! Well, we just happen to have Mr. Marty Grabstein. Mr. Marty Grabstein, everybody.
What's happening? What's happening? Wait a second. Where's my friend? Where is she? What are you doing? Come on. This is the person. This is Veronica Murphy. She's working with me.
Get some noise, make some noise for Veronica, y'all.
I'm gonna sit here.
You can sit wherever you would like,
Even
sir.
though I know you and I think you're a nice guy, I'm not complaining and I'm not trying to be away from you, but I like being able to answer and make a clean exit.
I hear that.
All right.
All right. Next up. Now, this is another one for my fellow millennials. Daria? Where the Daria fans at? Okay. Where the Casey Jones fans at? Now, for all my Pokemon, I see Pokemon right there. Where's all the Gengar fans at? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and show your love for Mr. Marc Thompson. All right. Now, y'all may know him as Kick Butowski. He played a young Howard Stark at one point, but y'all know him as Barry Allen or Wally West, The Flash, and many DC animated films. Give it up for Charlie Schlatter, y'all. I kind of need this. All right. Absolutely. Give another hand for yourselves, right?
That's it? Only the three of us?
Apparently so.
We don't need more.
We don't need no sticky voice actors.
No.
Oh, man, welcome to Rhode Island Comic Con. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. We know this crowd definitely is. So let's start off with some general questions. When did you all first get into voice acting?
Whoever wants to talk first.
Should we go in
real
age
voice
order?
actor then want them to speak first.
Who, me? You want me? Oh, gosh.
Come on, Charlie. It's your moment, man.
I know, my moment. This is my moment. Well, I sort of fell into it. I know I've worked with a lot of people that do it because they grew up, they were raised on cartoons, and that's all they wanted to be was Barney Rubble or Hong Kong Phooey or whatever, which I loved. I loved all those shows. But I was an actor, I did a lot of on-screen stuff and TV shows and things like that. And so I was doing a television series called Diagnosis Murder with Dick Van Dyke. I did that for like 100 years. Thanks. So we have people over 70 here. Great.
Are we showing the age of the people?
And so I was doing that, and I had children being born in my home, my own children, and during hiatus, the only opportunities I was getting were like in Vancouver or just kind of out of the country or out of state, but I really wanted to be an on-hand dad, and so I had an agent. I said, I want to do stuff, I want to be creative, but I don't want to leave, and he said, well, do you want to do some VO? And I said, what does that even mean? What is VO? What are those letters? He He said, voiceover. And so I said, sure. I'll try to make this long story eternity. So no, really. And so like my first audition was for a thing called Stars. It was, we're Stars, a better movie channel. And that's like kind of all I had to say and list a bunch of stupid movies. And I got it like right out of the gate. And then one of my first cartoons I did was with people that you'll know, Rob Paulson, Jess Harnell, Robert Stack, Kath Soucie. They were just like the heavy hitters. And you know, I was really just hired to sound like me. But because of that, like I just worked with the most supportive human beings, and I thought, this is the coolest job ever, because these guys, they're the smartest, funniest, quickest, bravest human beings I've ever been in a room with. And it was really cool. It was like you're just doing a radio play in somebody's basement, and you didn't care who knew you, who didn't know you, you know, but this is also before social media when, you know what I mean, we liked that anonymity. So they were just so great and so supportive, and I thought, this is the chalice. This is all I want to do. And because of their support, it made me feel more confident in what I was doing. And so, you know, the stuff that I was doing originally was just this. It was just me speaking. It was very vanilla. But then, you know, you start doing more stuff and getting wackier, and those guys are like, yeah, that's good too. And it just sort of snowballed into something really great. And it was perfect. I was able to stay home with my kids, and it's a career that I adore now. To me, it is the chalice, and I love it more than anything. It's a blast.
Love it. How about you, Marc?
I also kind of fell into it. I was studying acting in college, and then I just randomly saw a posting on a cork board, because this was before the internet in the olden days. And it was literally just like, if you want to audition for this cartoon, call this phone number and leave a weird voice on an answering machine.
What?
So I just was like, okay. So it was a cartoon about vampires. So I think I was like, hello, I'd like to be on your cartoon. And that was enough to get me a call back. So I got called back, and then that cartoon did not go into production. It never happened. But then, I know. But they remembered me from that, and then I got to audition for a show called Daria that was on MTV. And that was like my first job ever. Like, it was McDonald's and then Daria. So like, it was pretty exciting. And then that led
Back to McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You and Trump.
Yeah.
Serving fries.
I worked the fries. But yeah, and then that just kind of snowballed, and like people start, you know, recommending you for things, and I started doing like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Marty?
That's great. So I always, whenever I do these moments, the panels. By the way, let me just address the elephant in the room. I am recovering from a stroke, so my speech was impacted. That I can't talk like Barry Allen's talking right now. But I just wanted to address, my speech is coming back amazingly well, but come on. But anyway, regarding, you know, the voiceover thing, I'm always amazed when I put with a voiceover panel with actual guys that make, ladies, they make their living off of voiceovers. I actually, Courage the Cowardly Dog, it's more an anomaly for me, actually. Mostly on camera doing national TV spots, character work, independent films, theater, comedy, all of that wonderful journeyman acting thing. But God bless Courage the Cowardly Dog. Bit me on the ass, and I can say bit me on the ass, right?
Absolutely.
Twice, actually.
This is a safe space.
That's okay. Anyway, so a friend of mine, to make a long story interminable, anyway, a friend of mine approached me in 1998. She said, I haven't spoken to her for like maybe 5 years. What a friend, right? But anyway, so she called me up. She said, Marty, I noticed that I read a review of your comedy duo, Lab Rats. It was in the Time Out New York. It was on the reviewed from Time at New York, the comedy thing. So I realized you were still acting. I'm working for a guy named John Dilworth, producing a new. Yes, please, John Dilworth.
John, stand up.
A new cartoon series, Cover to Cover the Dog, and hearing people. Tapes, hearing people in person, actually. It's every voiceover artist in the city, maybe, did you audition for Courage?
No, I wasn't even born then.
I don't remember.
Somebody, maybe your phones were busy that day. Anyway, so she said he's heard like over 200 voices and he can't arrive of the decision. So I figured I'm going to reach out to people I know. Maybe we have better luck. And somehow I walked in strangely empowered because I knew usually when we go into an audition, actors have to cover up the fact that I really want the job. Please give me the job. But they have to act that they're okay, I'm confident, all of that. I actually did, uncharacteristically feel that I had some power here because I was informed that this guy was listening to people for over 3 months. And he's probably dying to stop the audition process. So I decided I'm going to be the one that's going to do that. Wow. So strangely empowered, right? I walked in and somehow within 2 minutes, I knew something was going on. He liked my New Yorkie / Jewish ethnic kind of sound to it. And he liked that for the neurotic Courage the Cowardly Dog thing. And the only thing he needed was, I was talking like this, he was laughing, saying the line, that stuff, right? But he said, can you pitch it up here? And I said, we got it. So within a couple of minutes, I knew I had the job. So it's a wonderful story. That's how I got into the voiceover industry.
All right. Okay.
I'm exhausted from that story.
So what would y'all say is the biggest misconception about voice acting?
That we're not good looking. They always say, oh, you got a face for VO. Come on. Look at these guys.
I definitely, it would be that, voiceover is not actually acting. It's kind of tricks, and it is a certain amount of trickery, but albeit the best voiceover people have acting background. So they come from acting. The same things hold true. Somehow, even if you're doing, some weird little rodent or something, some crazy cartoon character, you hope for some element of truth inside of it. To buttress it, So I think that is probably one of the biggest misconceptions.
100%. I'm sure this has happened to Marc and Marty where, people come to the table and they say, I'd really like to get into voiceover, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of times they'll follow it with, I do like a really great SpongeBob and my friends tell me I should be in voiceover. And I always say, well, Tom Kenny does a really good SpongeBob too. So right now, that's stay in your lane. But it's like you said, you have to be an actor first, and it is. It's not just people who make the fart noises or whatever or impersonations. You do, because even when you're doing commercial copy, you kind of have to act that as well. You have to have an emotional attachment to whatever it is you're doing. So I do think that is a big misconception. And there are people who do like great impersonations, but it's how do you sustain? And so I always tell people when they say, what can I do? And I said, get involved in community theater. Do something. Are you in school? Take an acting class. Be in a play.
I said that too.
Yeah.
I said the same thing.
Because it's always fun. You can always tell when we're in a session, who's an influencer and who's an actor. And because these days they'll say, okay, how many followers does she have? Or, and well, how many times has she done a play? How many times has he been in a film or what? That's what should matter. Because I don't think you guys watch anything we do based on how many followers we have. Right?
Right. That's
And there used to be an old saying, it's like TV doesn't need stars. TV creates stars. They find talent, and hopefully people are attracted to that. So at least that's what they tell me. I don't believe it, but...
So I would like to do something a little fun. I would like to ask your characters a couple of questions. Is that cool?
Oh, my God.
All right. So we're going to start with courage.
creative. They have to get creative.
Right.
The moderators.
Just when it was going so good.
It is good. So let me ask Courage this. With everything that goes on in nowhere, why haven't you asked Muriel and Eustace to just move out of nowhere?
Because it's my home. Because I live there, and Eustace provided for a roof over my head and food in my dog bowl. The Courage eater, the dog bowl? I never saw a dog bowl. Sorry, but this is my home. Ask the people that won't move out of the Jersey Shore, living by the beach. They have a beach house in Jersey Shore that's flooded out. They prepare it, put it on stilts, and they have another.
Give it up, give it up. Okay, Flash.
Oh, no, I hate Flash. No, that's not true. Here's the thing. So many people, they'll say, hey, Charlie, can you do Flash? And I go, you know what, I'm talking to you right now, and this is pretty much Flash. Because, Flash is the script. Flash is, maybe it's just, it's me speaking, but just a little bit faster and cooler. But that's it. And I love that because it's an easy job. You just go and you read the stuff, but to have that voice, to have that guy, that's always the best. That's why I like being like the honey nut bee. I can fly around and just say, be happy, be healthy. And you can be something a little different. Or
Are you buying time, mister? He had a question for you. I want to hear the question.
I'm being so political.
Allen.
I know.
That was very good. But I do want to ask the Flash this.
Okay, ask the Flash anything.
If you could, since you can run so fast and go through time, if you can run through time with your personal agenda,
oh my God,
what time period would you go to?
Personal agenda? I don't know. I'd possibly go back to 1966 when it all happened, my friend. I'm trying to be a nerd. I'm like almost there. I'm like, I don't.
Don't write it.
All right, I'm sorry. What a letdown Charlie was at that panel. He wouldn't time travel.
Kick Patowski, you think you can beat the Flash?
Oh my God, yes. If that guy met me in Mellowbrook, I would totally beat him to battle snacks with my friends Gunther and Brad. And yeah, totally. But biscuits, I'm screwing this up too.
Yeah! You kicked ass there, Charlie.
Thank you.
That was very good.
I feel
very
like
good.
a co-moderator somehow. How did I assume that mantle? All right.
So, all right, my next question is for Casey Jones.
Oh.
What's your favorite sports weapon to use?
Oh, that's such a great question because there's so many to choose from. You got your baseball bat when you want to get a purple dragon just like right down the middle and out to the outfield. Sometimes I use my driver, because I really want to get them far. But I got to say my ultimate favorite is my hockey stick, because that's the one that just, boom, you can see the teeth shooting out of their mouth when you hit them with that.
Gengar, can you beat Pikachu?
Gengar!
Oh, man. So we also had some fans that did submit some questions through the Rhode Island Comic Con website. So the first one is from Jordan Rosa from Providence. What advice can you give to aspiring voice actors who succumb to the loss of motivation and/or confidence to get started?
Ooh. I mean, I'll say, that's a great question, and that's a real issue because on the one hand, access to trying out for voiceover has increased, because now anyone with an internet connection can throw their hat in the ring. But with that, all the casting websites, absolutely. It used to be you had to live in like New York or LA or Atlanta, So on the one hand, it's like everybody has a lot more opportunities, so that's super exciting. But then you're also open to a lot more rejection as well. And this business was always full of rejection, and that's always challenging. So I think to get, to not give up and kind of work through that, I think you got to be doing it because it's something you really enjoy doing, not because you're wanting the outcome or you're wanting, monetary success or recognition. Like you got to do it because you really enjoy the art of it. And if that's the reason, then you're going to keep working at it. Your craft is going to get better and better. And eventually someone may notice, but even if you do it because you love it, then you'll be happy at whatever level you're doing it at.
So Joe Turner from North Providence asks, what are your favorite fan meeting moments? Your favorite fan interaction moment?
This.
Yeah.
Let's answer that quickly, right? Because this is the best thing. People are right here, people come to our booth, getting autographs and all of that stuff. Those are short things. People here, we get to make eye contact with you for a relaxed amount of time, you get to express yourself, So yeah.
And so many times when we do record, a lot of the process is you're doing it alone, in a studio with just you and the director or whatever. Sometimes you're lucky enough to have a few fellow actors with you and you bounce off each other, and that's really wonderful. But again, it's a vacuum. So we record in a vacuum. And when it's done, it's nice to go out here and meet the people that our product actually has an effect on. So when some kid comes up to you and says, dude, you were my childhood, it's just so great to hear because I didn't know that. I just been, making, like I said, my fart noises in a booth. And you guys really seem to like it. And so it becomes addictive for us to come here and meet you guys, to meet people who just, it's so flattering and it's really, really nice. It's just buttering our bread. It's wonderful, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I've had several, but one that sticks out is I do a bunch of audiobooks. I do a bunch of Star Wars audiobooks. And at one convention, a man came up to me with an American flag, and he said that this flag was flying over the base in Kabul in Afghanistan. And when I would come back from going on my missions, I would listen to your audiobooks to help me decompress and not give into the PTSD from going around and and I wanted you to have this flag because it was flying in the base that I was listening to your audiobooks in. So that was incredibly moving and powerful, So you don't think about that when you're just going,
No, you never know how important this is until someone comes to you and says, I used to watch that show with my mom as she was dying from cancer, we would look forward to Sunday nights every night because of you. And so, you're just a part of that. You're a part of a healing process. You're a part of joy. And, the reason why any actor does this is for connections, to connect to people. And that's all we want to do in life, I think, is just have connections with people and build bridges and just share kindness. And it's one of the greatest gifts that we have, I think, is to accept that, just accept that love from everybody. What a blessing.
Give it up for that. That was good. All right. So, Harmony Rose, very nice name, from Coventry, asks, how do I get started and how can I tell what will be a real job or a scam?
If there's no money, it's obviously a scam. You need to take off your shirt for this VO audio. No. That's the first sign.
That's very
But there are, have you guys run into, there haven't been many scams, you'll know like union stuff, none of that's really a scam. I would tell this person, you feel it in your bones, trust your gut. You'll know when something doesn't smell right. And also when it comes to and I'm sure you guys see this too, people who are always offering, voice lessons with this guy or that guy. I always look at their track record. If this guy has never done anything in his life, there are people like Marc and Marty and myself who do offer, counseling and stuff like that and working with and mentoring people who want to do this. So always, look at the track record, do your research, vet these people, and the same thing when it comes to actually getting a job. Well, who are these people from, wherever, some foreign land doing a cartoon about? Check them out. Just do your research and you'll know.
And definitely, sometimes you made a joke, it's no money, but a lot of the time it can be a scam, it's no money, but no guarantee. If they phrase it correctly, sometimes low budget, independent,
It's legit.
You get a copy of the tape so you can use it for your reel. They're coming clean to you. No pay, we pay your transportation. They say all of that up front. Then, and sometimes that's a very good way to get footage of yourself doing that stuff.
But as long as there's that transparency, exactly. Just know where you stand.
All right.
Okay, so I would like to open the floor to questions. So if you can line up right behind this microphone right here. And we ask that you ask one question.
I guess I'll start it off.
Okay, what's your name and where you from?
I'm Devin, and I'm from Connecticut.
All right.
You could pull it,
a little bit.
tilt it up, yeah.
There we go. So my question for you guys was, you mentioned the impact your roles have on other people. What was the role that had the greatest impact on you?
Did you say what was the role?
Yeah, the role or character that had the biggest impact on you.
Okay. So you never know where you worked. It's so funny. I can say courage to carry the dog emotionally in my self-confidence, my ability to see myself as a working actor, working regularly as an actor. That's the wonderful thing. But actually something more than anything else, I did a performance I did a show called When You're Coming Back, Red Rider.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't not come back to the fight time.
Jimmy Dean. No,
Jimmy Dean. But no, so When You're Coming Back, Red Rider, I did it in my senior year of college. So what had the impact was that up until that role, I was always doing most of the time either comedy or serious drama, but usually somebody who is somewhat closer to myself, somewhat ethnic, and usually kind of an upbeat kind of guy. Humorous, neurotic, those things that I employ so successfully in courage. Anyway, so in that show, I got to play a really scary guy who comes into a diner, is friendly, talking like this, doing a Southwestern kind of accent, and he was really friendly, and slowly but surely he becomes more menacing. He terrorizes the people in the diner and makes them jump through hoops to expose the hypocrisy of their lives. A very dangerous, offbeat, crazy character. And in many ways, one of the most satisfying things for me ever to have done, even to this very day, because I was playing something so not in my natural wheelhouse, and I was successful at it. I understood that I could do this. I could do this sort of thing. So when I look back on that, it makes me very happy when I think about that.
That's cool. Were you asking like a role that I've performed or a role that I witnessed as a...
Oh, no, like you did. So a character you voiced or a role you performed.
Oh, I see. I guess like I'll cheat and say two. The Star Wars audiobooks had a profound effect on me because I was a big Star Wars fan growing up, so I was hugely excited to get those. But I think I've learned the most about acting from having to learn to do audiobooks because I didn't. I was kind of treating them like, okay, here's the dialogue. And here's a bunch of boring stuff about, the prose and the exposition. And the director had to stop me, and he was like, the character voices you're doing are interesting, but when you're narrating the rest of the story, it's really falling flat. It's super boring. So you've got to find a way to do this. So he really taught me a lot in that. And so I really been. And then Pokemon is just weird because it's like, I do like, 50 some odd of these creatures, and they literally just say their name. So it's so odd to me to be known for saying one word over and over and over again. And it's just, so it's like a weird, like humbling thing. It's like, so yeah, it's very weird. Yeah. Okay.
I'll just make this. I love doing the characters that can sort of be cathartic in a way. Like right now, I do this little character on. It's called Big Nate, which was a Nickelodeon show, and I play this little redheaded boy named Chad, who is probably he's got a lot of problems, and he's a nerdy kid, and anyway, there's a lot of things that he does as this middle school student that I was probably like as a middle school student. And now to step back from it and to bring that back, it just kind of makes you come to terms with things like, oh my God, I was that same boy, or, so things like that. I do like when I find myself in a character, whether how strange it is, whether it is a Pokemon or, a flying bee or whatever. Because I do think as actors, we always try to put, whether it is a one-word whatever, we always try to put some of ourself in it. And someone once told me, like, you as a human being are more interesting than any character that could ever be written. So why not contribute that to whatever role you're doing? Why not put a little, because no one else is like you. You're a fingerprint. We all are completely separate. That's what's great about voices, too. No two voices are exactly the same. And so why not? Just because you've got one thing that's different than everybody, put that in everything you do. Give it a little flavor of that. That's your spice. I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's awesome.
I've never done this crap.
I like that.
No, that was perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you so much. All right, next up, what's your name and where you from?
Oh, I'm Philip. I'm kind of from all over, but I'm mainly New York.
Okay.
But the accent doesn't always come out. Can I ask two questions? One specifically for our man Courage here, and just one? Okay. All right, so I'm going to ask that one then.
Make it a two-parter and it'll work.
That's true. So what was it like doing that movie with the Scooby-Doo gang, and how the heck did that movie come about?
All right, so first of all, it was wonderful doing with the Scooby-Doo gang, though I didn't meet any of them when I recorded it. As Charlie said, we are alone in the booth. So I came in and recorded my stuff, and they came in at different times. So I didn't. But I did get to meet at Rhode Island Comic-Con, I guess 3 years ago, I got to meet Matthew Lillard. That's one of the tough ones for me. Matthew Lillard.
Too many L's.
Good. Anyway, I crashed his line, and I told him who I was. Oh, you were Courage? Yeah. I've been making a circus of it, clearly I tend to do. But that was wonderful. But it didn't matter that I didn't meet them. I was so excited that I got to do this thing. Gray Delia, Jeff Bregman, the list goes on. It's great voiceover people. And I knew it was so exciting that I got to do Courage again. You know, after 20 years
Yeah,
of
it's been a while.
a new Courage. We never got a Courage movie, but this is the closest I got to it. And I think they treated Courage very well. Personally, they plumbed I adjusted some of the things they wrote because it didn't sound like Courage, and it's Courage wouldn't say that. They wanted my input. So it was so wonderful. The production team was wonderful, and I was so excited to the fact that it came out, and and it made me relevant again. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, what's your name? Where you from?
Lindsay from Cortland, Ohio.
Thank you for traveling.
You're welcome. Had a question about just your input on voice acting starting. Thoughts on demo importance versus having an agent when you're like starting it out? Recommendations as far as like what might be more important?
Well, an agent is always the necessary evil if you want to, at a certain level of the business, you need that. It just is what it is. I work with a lot of people who have done nothing, and I always try to help them set up a little studio in their home and on the cheap. You know what I mean? We don't need a $20,000 Neumann, what's that German thing that they all use?
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell that is. I literally have like a $200 microphone from 20-something years ago, and it's been on every network. Just from so who cares? But I do. I think that's, and nowadays I think, and I don't know if you guys even have demos. I don't have a demo. I think there might be something on my agency where, who's Charlie? And they play a couple things. But new people definitely need it because the buyers don't know who you are. And I always think it's nice for that person to create something like a 90-second to 2-minute little demo of commercial stuff, you saying coming up next on Nickelodeon, and then doing your characters and let that segue into something. Produce a nice little package that just lives on your desktop, and then like we were talking before, there are all these websites where you don't have to be in a union, you don't have to have anything. You could just submit yourself, and they say, we need a voice that's 18 to 26, Caucasian sounding, whatever, and you could say, oh my gosh, that's me, and you submit your demo to these people, and then they could say, oh my gosh, this girl sounds nice. Let's give her an audition. And that's kind of how that works. So no one should be discouraged because nowadays the talent pool is so wide, it's so spread, that I think everybody has an opportunity. And I wanted to say earlier, too, it used to be, it's a very incestuous business. We've all pretty much been with each other it's you and the same 6 guys who do everything, right? But at that table where we're all working, there's always 2 empty chairs that we always welcome 2 new people. And that's what I love about this business. You know what I mean? And I've worked with blind people. I've worked with autistic people. I've worked with so many different types of actors that it's that community. It's that it's so giving. But I definitely would, for someone just starting out, you're not going to get an agent probably without that tool in your toolbox. So unless you guys know of another way to do it.
No, I mean, there are these, casting websites, and it does seem like that's the way a lot of people maybe get their feet wet and start. And so you do have to kind of feel out if it's worth the, $500 or whatever it is for the annual fee to be on there, because it's a big investment. Mm-hmm. So, you can try. There's some that you don't have to pay that, so you could maybe start on some of those other websites first and then move on to the other casting ones. But yeah, and I think the trick with those is you got to submit a lot and you got to submit soon. If they post it at 12, try to get an audition in at 12:05 because
quick turnaround.
Yeah, the casting director's not going to listen to all 100 people that submit. So the sooner you can submit, the better. So.
Well, I think it's very inspiring that you said that you guys welcome new people to the table, so thank you so much.
Yeah, always.
For that.
Bring me to the table, baby.
Come on.
I want to sit at the table with Charlie and Marc.
No more room.
So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you. All right, next up. What's your name and where you from?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Steve. No, I'm joking. My name's Chris.
Let's go and call you that.
My name's Chris. I'm from Coventry, Rhode Island. Big fan of you guys. I grew up watching all your shows on TV constantly. You guys, I just want to make it known, have some of the coolest cartoon intros, like music sequences of all time.
Yeah.
Kick Buttowski and Ninja Turtles, some of the, I listen to
Yeah.
them still, like in the shower, everything like that. So we go.
Yeah, nowadays there's like great bands out there who all want they like bid they put in their bid to say we'll do your theme song or whatever
Yeah.
because they know the kids listen to it and it's played all the time nonstop and it's a gold mine of those guys.
Yeah, I remember coming home from middle school and watching Kick Buttowski and just got me so like pumped up and wanted to try to learn how to skateboard. And then Ninja Turtles, one of my favorite cartoons of all time. Same thing with Courage. So
awesome,
you guys are so cool. Thank you so much for being here. One of my questions was, is there a voice in particular that you guys might have worked on in your career that didn't come as naturally at first, that you had to maybe tweak and refine to find what someone was looking for? And how did you get there? And what ways can you utilize your vocal cords to produce different sounds? And how do you practice that? I know it's a lot.
No, that's a good question. I'll start by saying I'm very limited. I have like a rubbery voice, I guess, and it's interesting to some people. And then I just try to find variations of it, and accents here and there. But that you kind of study in college, and you do that. I tend to think that here's what's funny. A lot of times we go into a session and you owe them. Is it still 3 voices? I think you owe them 3 voices. For the price of 1. You go in and they'll say, okay, you're Kick Buttowski, but today you're also the cafeteria lady and you're going to be, Junior the squirrel, whatever. And you kind of make it up on the spot. You do something. But I'll tell you this, if you're having trouble with something, as I have before, they say, Charlie, don't sweat it. Rob Paulson is coming in later for a session. He'll cover it for you. And so you go, thank God, So I think the stuff that you have trouble with, you kind of have to know your limitations and know your strengths. And just know that, like I said, D. Bradley Baker is right next door. He'll come in a minute and he'll knock out that thing. So just don't sweat it. Just go in and give the best you can because you have to put, what I was going to say, go in with no ego. When you go in with an ego, that's a mistake. We're not curing cancer. We're making cartoons, and you need to take a backseat if someone, and I've said that a million times. I've auditioned for things where I say, you know what, like here's the thing, this is an on-camera thing. Years and years ago, I auditioned for a movie called Parenthood. Do you remember that? It was a Ron Howard movie. Yeah. Okay, so I go in there, and I looked like the kid that you kind of wanted your daughter to date. I was, a nice, clean-cut boy, and so I did the character, I auditioned for Ron and Glazer, and I did it as sort of like a little bit of a special needs guy who, maybe just was a little bit behind the whatever. So, but I said, this is a stretch, it's not right. I said, the guy you want for it, he's sitting in the lobby, and it was Keanu Reeves. And he was the next guy to go in out, and he was the guy who booked, so it's like, you got to share the whatever. But just don't, you can't have that ego.
That's awesome. I guess I'll just say I sometimes get a lot of inspiration from the artwork. So like I'll just kind of like look at how the character's drawn, and if I try to like mimic even like their facial expressions, like there's one that's coming to mind. There's this dad I do on this show called Kitty Cats. And he's got this like really big head and a really big smile. So it's like, kitties, and I try to like make my mouth into the shape he has in the animation, and it's like, and just something about contorting my mouth and that big grin that he has helps me find the voice. So
Gotcha. That's always a help too. Yeah, when they give you a picture, because sometimes you have no idea what the heck you want to do. But when they give you that artwork, if there's a snaggletooth if there's, something crazy to work with, it totally helps an actor find that.
Awesome. Thank you for the info. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Right.
Have a great day.
Bye, Steve.
Unfortunately,
Second, I want to adjust the mic here because it's too short.
we can end with you.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap this up.
Oh, well, there's 2 guys behind me. I can skip if you want to go to one of them.
We do have to wrap this.
It's fine.
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right, so if it's unanimous, no, I'll go. Or you want to go?
I'm sorry, we ran out of time. Thank you all for coming.
All right, we'll just take this one last question. What's your name? Where you from?
My name is Luke Holmander. I'm 19 years old. I'm from Rhode Island. And,
Nice.
And I have autism. So I was asking, what was it like for you guys to work with autistic people? Because you guys said that like you guys worked with some. What is that like?
I have, and there's two people that I'm like that I coach right now that are both on the spectrum, and I have to say, they are two of like the most brave human beings I've ever worked with. And what's great about what they have, their gift of autism, I'll call it, they're able to kind of lock in on these characters and really go deep. And they don't really care about like the superfluous crap that's going on in their lives. They just focus and they really become the character. And I will say that's what I love about working with at least these two people that I'm working with now. They really are, and they're so brave and not afraid. So I will say, I think that's something really good, that they can tap into something that maybe we don't always, because maybe we're always a little bit more self-conscious than the other guy. But I do find that people on the spectrum are just more giving and more focused. So
That's dope. That's dope.
What's that?
I said that's dope.
It is dope.
Yeah,
it's extra dope.
Welcome back to 2015, folks. It's dab time.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luke.
All right, so this is our time. We'd like to thank our esteemed panelists here, Charlie Schlatter, Marc Grabstein,
buddy.
and Marc Thompson. I'm DJ Mr. Byrd. Everybody enjoy the rest of Rhode Island Comic Con.